just kind of in real time going to take you through this drill that I like. I think it's a great drill if we're trying to create kind of minimal club turf interaction. I've got these balls teed up very slightly, and just going to take you through a technique here where we want to be able to really get the shallowest contact on the ball possible with a decent amount of shaft lean, so we can have the ball hitting fairly low on the face and create sort of a low spinning shot. Now, the idea with the low aspect of it, if we start to hit too high on the face here, the ball tends to shoot straight upwards. It also tends to mean that at some point the club is getting too deep into the ground, hence it's hitting too high on the face here. So through setup and through some of the techniques that I'm going to show you, we're going to implement a contact which is going to be more of a scraping technique, where the club is moving lower to the ground and higher through, and not kind of steep and further down where we're going to take big divots. Now, I mentioned that the turf conditions are pretty important. I'm just off the edge of the green here, so I'm on some pretty tight ground, although it is soft. And the golf balls are Titleist Pro V1 balls. We want to make sure we've got a fairly clean wedge, so at least all the elements are in our favor. You know, some of the other things which we don't have control over would be, is the green soft or firm? Is it into the wind or downwind? Those factors are going to either increase or decrease spin. So let's go through. Now, just as one point here, which you can have a play around with, and that is, I mentioned I really like your setup position. I just mentioned the club, as it's going back, tends to go back a little more closed than what I would like to see. So one of the things that we can do is just get a sense of the toe of the golf club or the palm facing a little bit more this way, not towards the ground. You could say a little bit towards the camera if I was swinging this way. And what that does is it adds a little bit of forearm roll, which can help us to get the speed of the club head moving a little bit more in this fashion as we go through. If we get a little bit shut, we have to kind of block it open, even though you've got a lot of wrist hinge, it can take away a little bit of that hand speed that we need to create the spin. Also, if we have, say, too much wrist hinge on these short shots, it's hard to get the club out. And again, we can compromise the kind of steepness of the contact. So that's just one idea with regards to how we're going to use our forearm and a little bit of our kind of wrist movement going through. Now, as far as this drill here, I like where you had your setup position. For me, everything's in nice order. Depending on the lie you've got and the shot you're trying to hit, ball can be sort of middle to forward is fine. If I'm trying to play something a little lower, or maybe the lie's not quite as good, I might move the ball back just a little bit. The ground's a touch soft here, so I'm going to keep it middle to back. And really what I'm looking for going through here, I mentioned with regards to how we're using our wrist, I only want the wrist moving through a range of about 2, not 5. So if we could think about the wrists as speed getters, and they're like gears in a car, even though we do want speed with this shot, I'm not looking to maximize the wrist action, because one, we can come in with the club a little too much out of control, and again, the steepness aspect. So if the wrists are moving from 0 to 5, I'm really only looking to put them into second gear on this little sort of 30 to 40 yard pitch shot. And from here, we're just going to get a sense of the lead hand. My glove here, just going to turn down so it keeps the hands leading, and it keeps me from adding too much loft or even crashing too much down into the golf ball. So let's just make a couple of practice swings. So I've got a number 2, and I'm going to scrape it through. You'll notice that as I go through, my chest is up, not too much on top of the ball. That again helps me to get a nice scraping contact. Okay, let's just hit a few. So number 2, scrape it off. That was thin, didn't touch any ground there. So number 2 wrist. Okay, that was a pretty good one. And you'll notice my hands are well forward. This is a fairly low ball flight. And again, if we looked at all those, the ground's very, very soft here, but just clipping the ball really off the tee. There's very little turf interaction with the golf club. Those last two shots, which came off pretty good, were very low trajectory. You know, if we had a launch monitor there, they're launching probably under 30, 28, 27. Contact's very low on the face. Very hard to see here because it's wet. I'm getting very low on the face with a reasonable amount of shaft lean. So all those factors add up to low trajectory, high spin, got a little bit of forearm roll in there. So I'm still keeping the speed of the hands, I would say, at a decent rate, and turning through the shot.